Now, supplier direct should not create usage. Well, let me back up. You're talking about a direct shipment from the vendor or what I call the purchasing distributive direct?
A direct shipment from the vendor.
To the customer or to the branch?
To the branch.
Yeah. Now what's going on again, here's the way this works. Usage is always recorded at the point of sale warehouse. So let's just do this. Here's my vendor. It feeds a central warehouse, which is now feeding a baby. Any sales I do out of the central warehouse is going to be logged under their usage and their usage buckets if I sell it out to customers. Any usage sold out of this branch is going to be logged in its branch under its usage buckets. But then what the system says is, I'm getting ready to calculate usage. Oh, this branch based on its customer, can you turn that down just a little bit, Jeff, again? The branch here, okay? As far as the usage, what's it going to be made up of? Its customer. So it comes out and says, hey, I need 25 for my customers. It cuts this line temporarily and just says, treat each branch individually. Oh, I need 10 for its customers. And now it says, well, I need 25 for my customers, but oh yeah, I'm going to feed another warehouse that needs 10. So now the usage, not the buckets, the result of the buckets is going to be added up. And now the usage for this warehouse is 35. Including the 10 for this. Is that what you're asking me?
Kind of, exactly.
Go, where's our mic? Did I take it from you?
If I heard you correctly, usage is, a transfer is considered usage, right?
No, not in the rolled up.
Okay.
Now, if you're not using rolled up, which SX is the only choice now, whether you want to use traditional or roll-up. Most of you are going to use roll-up. And the second part, fax, once you switch to 7.8, there is no warehouse transfer. Okay. It's still out there, but it still does this method. So transfer is just a way to get it there.
Okay.
It doesn't create usage that we use.
Okay. That makes sense.
You okay?
Yeah.
Think about it. Come back if you need to. Again, let me just bring this home. What we're doing is we're saying, no matter how we get it to this branch, once this ARP is established, because we may have been feeding it yesterday like this, and the day before it might have been coming through a transfer this way. We get very skewed with that, but it's customers' usage is its customer usage. So we say, what do its customers need? And as of today, who are they getting it from? Roll their usage back into that one. That should help out. Okay, very good.
So direct ships are included in your usage?
No.
Okay, they're not.
No. Now, if a direct ship, and we're going to talk about lost sales in a little bit, customer came in, wanted it from my branch, but I didn't have it. I don't have it somewhere else, so I've decided to direct ship it in from the vendor. Now, my first part is, if I can get away with that and the customer is happy, where would I love all my inventory? On the vendor shelf, and let me just become a sales organization. But that's why we're distributors. We manage that. So here's what I would say. If the customer didn't care, I'm not going to do anything special. I'm going to leave that usage at the vendor. If he goes, you know what, I'll take it from the vendor, but you should have had it on the shelf. They should put the direct on, but then it should also be pushed through as usage. You can click a box and says, even though I shipped it direct from my vendor, I want that usage to go in like I sold it from here. So next week, it creates usage, even though it was created from a direct. But directs by default do not create usage. You have to tell it. Now, a lot of companies get a mod because they say, God, we never want to direct anything, and it's only because we didn't have it, and they shift all usage to it. Right organization, that makes sense, but in general, directs from a vendor to a customer are not usage unless you tell it so. Good to go? Okay. So here we are. Let's do a couple things here. I want to come back and talk about B backwards, T trend. Then I want to talk about the number of months, and we'll talk about a few other things with this. How do we go and take these usage buckets that now are sales plus lost sales, less exceptional sales, plus or minus human smoothing, fixing, and roll that into an average monthly, average daily usage, a calculated number. So we already determined B or T. B backwards, non-seasonal items. T trend or seasonality, or F forward for seasonal items, all right, that sell higher parts. Now, first off, what's a seasonal item? Because seasonality is harder. So we used to say if it's a 60-40, if 60% of your business is done in a 6-month period, which means 40% or less is done in the other 6 months, it's going to be seasonal. So there's a little bump in it. But seasonality is a lot of work, and we've gotten it down where B backwards in its methodologies, we can almost get to an 80-20. I only have to run these bigger things through seasonality. If 80% of my business is during 6 months, only leaving 20 in the other, that's where I'd start saying seasonal or not seasonal. So that's the first thing. Now, people often go, is there a tool for that? There really isn't on your system. There is, but they don't work well. But where's the best tool? I mean, I go into a company, and within a half hour, I've just talked to the people, and they know what. You guys already know what's seasonal and what's not. Is that fair? For the most part. I mean, 95% of that stuff, your inventory people know. So you don't need any magic. You go, this vendor's seasonal. This stuff's not. Even though I'm a pool distributor, this is stuff we sell year long. Don't make it seasonal. And you can mix and match within the product lines, within the P line, or the vendors, even within the warehouse. You can mix and match however you need to. So that's the first part. Now, how do we go out and use this well? And the next thing I want to bring up is this. How wide of a window should I look at? My first example, I looked at a 3-month window. A lot of you are looking at a 6-month window. Some of you may be looking at a 12-month window. And there's a reason for both. Part of me wants to take a narrow window and only look at 3 months usage and get an average. Part of me wants to take a wide window and look at 6 or 8 months. Any ideas of which? Of why? You can just spit it out. We don't have to get the mic. Here's where I'm at. I'll go right there. Go ahead.
To meet a minimum order, you look at a trend longer, so you can.
That would be looking out and trying to get, what was said there is to try to hit a minimum order, but I'm going to put us up even bigger than that. The narrower window I take, what happens? It's going to react much quicker. Think about something that looks like this. Here's January, and I won't even make it seasonal. Let's just say this product's growing. Here's December, and it's a 12. If I took a 12-month average, so I'm just going to take December all the way back to January. Everyone following me? If I just took a 12-month average, what would I get on this? Right there. Everyone there? Now, again, it looks like I'm trending here. I'm going, wow, that's a good average, but it still probably doesn't represent very well where I'm going. So let's cut that in half. Let's take a 6-month window, closer to reality. Let's take a 3-month window, closer to reality. Here's where I'm going. The wider window you have, the more flat line it's going to flatten things out. Everyone there? And the narrow window I have, it's going to follow things much quicker. I mean, if you took this all the way to the extreme, let's just look at the last month. Everyone there? Which is bringing up the second point. Now, before I go there, does everyone understand what a narrow window is going to do? It's going to react because it doesn't have as much history in it. So it's going to react much quicker to what's going on. Part of me wants my system to react quickly. But then there's part of me that says averages help take out outliers, help take into things. Think about a D item. If I put a D item on a 3-month window, I might not even sold it for the last 4 months, so what's going to happen with it? No history, and it says, oh, my usage is 0. So there's part of me that wants to take this wider window to get history into it or to start flattening it out because it's very erratic. And to bring that together in general, and this is where we're going to start pulling in your parameters. If I'm an A item based on hits, I know I have lots of activity and I want to win. So on an A item, if I have lots of activity, which is fairly consistent, I'm going to take a narrower window. Why? Because it's good activity in all those 3 months I'm going to use, and it's going to react quicker for me. So just to give you an example, I'm going to probably only use a 2 to 3 month window on my A items because I have good history, don't have to get the outliers out, and it's going to react quicker for me. And as I work down my ranks, and let's just go with the 3 for now, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6. And you'll see this is a standard setup that we use in a lot of companies. A item, lots of activity. I can take a narrow window, not get upside down with it because there's lots of history and it's going to react quicker. As I move down my ranks, I have to widen it up because I'll have months that don't even have activity, or I have more erraticness in my C's and D's. So I'm using averages to start flattening that out a little bit for me. Is that making sense with everyone? That's just the first rule we have. So faster moving items, we take a smaller window. Slower moving items, we widen the window up. Everyone good? All right. So that's the first part. So you already saw that. If we had here January, February, March, April, May, I'll get one more out here, December. If I was a B6, it would take the last 6 months, average them together, come up with an average. If I was a B3, it would take the last 3 months. Here I am trying to predict June. The last 3 months, average them together, come up with my average. Smaller window, quicker reaction. Smaller window, you might get outliers that aren't taken out. Wider window, flatter average, takes out outliers better. That's the first part. Good to go on this part. Okay. Now, so there's nothing magical here. Get good usage buckets, non-seasonal, B3, B4, B5, B6. How am I going to maintain this? Tomorrow you're going to see your system does this for you. You'll set that right up. A's, I want to have a 3-month window. B's, I want to have a 4-month. C's, a 5-month. And as the rank changes every month, it'll go in and go, oh, I was a C last month, but I've now moved to an A, move my 5-month control to a 3-month. It's going to be dynamic for you. That's one of the beauties of AIM. It becomes dynamic. Let's go over the second part. What if I'm a T trend? I'm a seasonal item. I'm still going to apply the same thing, 3 months, but we have to do something with T's. Trending. Because here I am, and what are we really trying to do? Here I am. I'm coming into June. We'll stick with the pool since we're talking about pool. So again, the T says I'm seasonal. So it goes back to last June. That's the first thing. It says instead of grabbing the last 3 months that just happened, grab the 3 months coming up. So that's the seasonality. So then it says take that average, bring it over here, and predict that for June. Now that'll work good as long as what? This summer is going to follow the same as last summer. But that doesn't always happen. That would work great if it looked like that. But what if it was doing this or this? We have to, that's where the T comes from. It has a system built-in trend to look at every item. Pre the things that we're looking at, you guys had to apply a trend kind of across the board and just say, pool's going to be up 120%. And it applied it to everything. And you had stuff that was up 120. You had stuff that was up 180. And you had stuff that was down by 50. But it was still applying that same trend to everything. So now what it does is you can come in and you define this. You say, come back here, calculate the base usage. Let's say it came up with 100. 100 sold, 90 sold, 110. So it says, here's my average monthly usage based on a backward or a forward methodology, non-trend. Now what do we want to do? See if it's doing one of these that we need to apply. So what the system is, and you'll see where we set this up. Right now I just want you to get the example. It's going to say, take this 3 months that we just set up and let's do a compare. So it's going to come back here and look at the 3 months that we just did. So it says this year, the 3 months that just went out, we did this much, and let's say we did 60. And those same 3 months last year, we did 30, because we do have these history. Everyone with me? These are the same 3 months we just came out of. Just from that, what do you think is probably going on? I'm trending up, and I'm trending up 200%. Everyone there? So it's going to take the 100 times the 200%, and what it's going to actually use for June? 100 times 200, even though we calculated 100 here, it then applies this trend to it and says, yeah, but the usage we're going to use for this June now going forward is 200. So it's taking the seasonal average, then calculating a trend, and applying the trend to that item. Same example here. We'll switch it a little bit. This year I did 30 in the 3 months that just transpired, and last year in those same periods I did 60. What's my trend now showing me? I'm running at about 50%. So now again, grab the 100, which was based on last year. It's going to use a usage of 50. Is everyone following how this is work? It's simple, but it works really well. All right, then there's some parameters we have to wrap around that. All right, the first parameters that we wrap around it is how much will we let it automatically trend? You get caps around this. Most people would max it out at about 250%. I will allow you, system, on your own to trend up by 250%. If it's beyond that, go ahead and trend it to 250, but now tell me, the inventory manager, about it so I can get in there, because it might be just a bad blip of data. There might be something wrong in there, so I'll let it go so far. If it wants to go farther, tell me about it and I'll help you determine. Everyone with that part? Same thing with the minimum. Most companies would run at 50%. If you're trending down, I'll let you automatically trend down by 50%. But if you want to trend down more than that, tell me about it, and I'll help determine if I'm really, really willing to let it go that far. So that's the first set of parameters that keeps it in reality. And then the second set is this. Now, SX and FACS are slightly different. And I'll just put it up here. SX is based on usage in this case. FACS is based on hits. But it says these two compare periods, I have to have enough usage history there to actually do a trend. If I came back and I sold it one time for 60, and I sold it one time for 30, I'm not saying I can't do the math, but this is a one-time sale versus a one-time sale. And I always come back, anything happens one time, I have no idea if that's reality or a one-off. Something happens 2 times, I'm getting closer, but I really don't know. Once something happens 3 times, for most of, we say we can start to see a pattern. So in facts, most folks would come up and say, I have to also have at least 3 hits in each of my compare periods, or don't try to calculate a trend, leave it at 100% flat, because there's not enough history to calculate a trend. Is that making sense? And then with SX, it's based on units. And most folks would say, I have to have at least 10 units sold in each of the 2 compare period, or don't calculate. Meaning this, I sold 1 in the previous 3 months last year, and I sold 10 in this year. Am I really up 1,000%? I am math-wise, but I'm not willing to let my system go out and run that based on that 1 sale last year and 10 this year, get my human involved and help them. So a lot of you should start thinking about, I see my job shifting. It's no longer cutting POs and punching buttons, it's what? Manage these parameters, make sure the data is good, watch the exceptions, help the system get a good order point and line point, and it'll do the rest for you. So we're really becoming inventory and data managers, not buyers. Your system can do the buying if it has good data and it has good parameters. Everyone understanding the trending part of this? And that's across all the systems. So let's just make sure we've covered. We've talked about whether it's seasonal or not. We've talked about window size based on rank. Narrow window for faster moving items, wider window for slower moving items. We've talked about trending. If it's seasonal, how we're going to apply trending. And in the previous section, we talked about the paths, that if your ARPs aren't right, it can't roll the usage up to your central warehouse, central distribution centers properly. So it takes these buckets based off of sales. And again, even though it still says transfer history, most of you are using rolled up. Lost sales, less exceptional sales, plus or minus human input creates the usage buckets. Then we apply the methodology. Are we using a backwards or a trending methodology? Is it seasonal or not? What size window? If it is seasonal, how are we applying the trending? And let's make sure our paths are right. These are the 4 things that have to come together with your buckets to get a good calculated average usage. Anything there? And then I got one more part to add to it. Courtney's bringing it.
Thank you. I had one question. You said on new products you would probably set a minimum ranking of a C. Now, on your usage, it's going to set that at a 5-month window. Wouldn't you want to have a quicker response or a shorter trend they would look at for a new product like that?
Well, here's what, as we move on with this, we'll probably find out what. When I set up the brand new C item, I have no usage. Let's just go through that. Then I have 1 month into it, and you're saying, well, shouldn't it look at 1 month? Because now I at least have 1 month. What you're going to hear me say, and a lot of people already use it, there's team-in order points and team-in usages, which says 1 month's history probably is just as good or bad as indicator anything, and I'm not sure I even want to base it on 1 month. Sales people got savvy, they got out there and they sold it one time, and now I bring in all this inventory. Or we didn't get it established yet, no one sold anything, it says get rid of everything you have. You following me? Normally that first 2, 3, 4 months, what are we really doing? Salespeople, realistically, how much do you think we're going to sell? Because that's the whole reason we stocked it, right? Or we based off some history. And we'll go load some factors to get it started. You know, so we'll load some history, or we'll load a threshold minimum, a certain order point, or we'll load a certain usage, and it'll still look at the history. But on a new item, I wouldn't let it drive strictly on the history till, because even 1 month in, I'm going to go back to that one hit. I don't really know if it's good or bad. So I don't want to make a determination on it till I have at least 3 hits on it. So I'm going to manually manipulate this a little bit at the beginning. Fair? Okay. Any others? All right, I want to bring one more part then into this. Well, 2 parts. If I'm running a product line normally as seasonal, but it's a brand new item, can it go back a year and look forward? Only have 1 month's history. So just remember that if you have a seasonal item with a 3-month window, it really needs 15 months of history. It has to go back a year and look forward, but it also went back a year and looked back 3 months. So it really needed what? 15 months of history on a 3-month window before it can really start calculating a decent trend and a decent usage. So we often have the human involved at that beginning part. It might be some threshold minimums. It might be actually what? You'll see many companies do actually load usage buckets. We don't know exactly, but our salespeople think we're going to sell about 100 a month, and you'll actually see, even though we didn't bring it in till here, they're actually going in and doing an override for all those months like we've sold it at 100 all along. Now it's going to take off the way you're thinking. Or, if I don't want to load history, we'll use one of these threshold minimums that we have available for use, which you'll see in a little bit. That's the first part I want to cover. Now, the second part I want to cover here is, any of you do importing with seasonality? Long lead times and seasonality. Enough here. Let me just spend a minute to go over this. And now, when I say long lead time, some of you even a 30-day lead time. If I'm here, and I'm in June, and I want to know what we're going to do, and it's set up as a T3. So it says, let's go back a year ago. Let's look at June, July, and August, the next 3 months coming up to calculate an average. Now, if I've got something with a 90-day lead time, I'm importing, it's a 90-day lead time, and I'm sitting here in June getting ready to cut a PO. If it takes 90 days to come in, when am I really buying for? Am I buying for June? Am I buying for July? Am I buying for August? I'm buying for September, October, November, because it takes 90 days. And again, this is a flag, but on seasonal items, you have an option that says seasonal items advanced by lead time. And what it would say here is if you have that turned on, it goes, oh, it acknowledges what we just said. It says, go back a year ago, now advance 90 days, because that's really the period. I can't buy for this 90 days coming up because it takes 90 days to come in. So it will skip this month, this month, this month, and then grab the 3 months that we were talking about for the period you're really buying for. Anyone that has long lead times and seasonal, that made sense right away. You're going, we've needed that because I need my POs being placed for the period I'm buying for, not for tomorrow. Any questions on that one? Okay. Excuse me. So let's just bring this together and make sure. Where I want to come back and is really push on lost sales. So sales, you already issued the tickets. As long as you're putting the orders on and invoicing, which I assume most of you are doing pretty well, you get paid for what you do, so we're capturing the sales usage side of it. Lost sales. Again, a lot of you are not doing lost sales, and if you're not doing lost sales, what you're bringing into your system is what you happen to have yesterday, not what your customers really wanted. Lost sales is critical for good usage to give good fill rate and not drive your turns through the ceiling or through the floor trying to get that good fill rate. Logging exceptional sales, human input, we've covered all this. Let's talk about lost sales for a minute here. All right. Customer comes in and asks for something and we don't have it. If we don't record it, A, our fill rate's wrong, but even worse, our usage is wrong. What about when you do a substitute? I'm just skipping around. They say, come in, they want product A, and we send them out with product B. If we just put that on the ticket, talk through it, and put product B on there and don't do anything special, they come back in next week for product A. What did we tell purchasing to bring in? Product B. Theoretically, that should have been what? Product A, lost sales. Product B, exceptional sales. So now, even though I sold them product B, I shifted the usage back to product A, what the customer wanted. All right, so here, let's go down this. There's 5 keys that I like to talk about. I will often have customers call on the phone and they say, how many, and you guys already know about this, how many do you have? We look it up and go, oh, we've got 9. Customer goes, okay, I'll take the 9. 9 ordered, 9 shipped, 100% fill rate, 9 usage. If we would have stopped and said, how many are you looking for? What might we have heard? 10. So when we tell them what we have, we often capture that, not what they want. So I always flip that question around to how many are you looking for? How many of you keep availability on your internet access sites? If you're keeping availability there, you're losing because they'll come in, they wanted 100, they see 3. Either you missed the sale altogether and they've moved on, you didn't even capture it, or 3 ordered, 3 shipped, and that's usage. I don't tell availability. You notice if you get any major websites, they do not tell, they'll tell you if there's only 5 left sometimes to string you in, but they don't tell you what the available, they want you to put your order on so they can capture what you want it, not what they happen to have to sell to you today. Okay, so that's the first one, ask them what they want. Every canceled back order should be logged as a lost sale. So here we go with that example from this morning. Customer comes in, they go, hey, I want 10 of these. I put 10 on. How many do we have? We only have 9 to ship to you, Mr. Customer, today. And let's say they do back order. So depending on the system, it might have a back order flag, or it might say 1 is back ordered. We back ordered 1 regardless. So tomorrow, this comes back as we shipped it out to them. 1 on order, 0 to ship right now, and still 1 on back order. Everyone good with this? Then they call up and go, oh, cancel. I saw the invoice. I didn't mean to back order that. You need to cancel it. Now, what are they really telling you? I couldn't wait on you anymore. I had to go somewhere else and get it. But a lot of your folks will go ahead and just delete that off the system. If we would have had 10 on the first day when they wanted, how many would we have sold? 10 and had usage for 10? And just because we didn't have it and they back ordered it, any canceled back order should go through as a lost sale, not delete it. Make sense? Because you would have gotten that sale the first day. Directs to fill in. This one came up a little bit ago. I think, Rick, you asked it. Directs don't create usage, but if I'm using that to fill in for something they want it from stock, and I want to get it out of stock for them next time, I'm going to check that direct as a lost sale or to record usage so it becomes part of my usage. What are we doing here? We're now shifting usage to not what we had to do to meet the customers, what we really wanted to do if we could paint that perfect world, and shifting our past to represent the future we want, not the past we were forced to live. Everyone, does that make sense with everyone? So there's a lot of that going on. Substitutes, we talked about that. And what about if you ship from another warehouse? They come into your place, they want, oh, we don't have it, but I've got some off in California I can ship to you, and we ship it off to them. If I don't do something special, what do I watch going on? My purchasing folks putting on a PO for California because that's where the usage just went instead of bringing it into Michigan. That should have been what? Lost sale in Michigan, exceptional sale in California. Now, there's a really simple trick to capture lost sales overall. The